Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Review. Boy, it has been quite a hot minute since I sat in front of my camera here, I will tell you that. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I did. Despite how I might sound a little nasally, I'm actually feeling so much better than I was on Black Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So there wasn't a weekly wrap up this previous week. So I will be saving a lot of that until the next one. That'll be a doubled up one, which I don't know how my weekly wrap ups can get any longer than they already are, but we're apparently going to find a way to do that. But since I didn't have a weekly wrap up, I just want to say all my new patrons and channel members, you'll get your self added in at the next one. So I definitely see you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping me do this. But something I did want to tell you guys about, since I didn't get to talk about it in the last video, I did have a shop update to my Etsy, which it has been forever. And I will have another slight one coming soon because there was some really cool fabrics on sale. I'm not going to do a ton of Christmas ones because I did go a bit overboard for Halloween and I still have a lot of spooky stock, which by the way, that is still available if you want to get some of that for next year. I don't know. But some of these book sleeves might be great gifts for, you know, either yourself or for you to point your husband or your family to get for you. And I do have a new item that's going to be dropping that I think will be a super cute stocking stuffer. And this is actually good for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you are a reader or not, but I feel like particularly with the cold I've had that this is a really great deal. And I found this cute little pattern to make these little tissue covers. So you'll see right in here, it's pretty full when you start, but you'll have a little tissue pouch, and so you can put a travel tissue in here and then it doesn't get all messed up or dirty when it's in your purse or your bag. So this was a cute one that I made for myself. But then I have some in, these will, when you buy them, come with a pack of tissues in it, just a Dollar Tree one. But I have like cute baby Yodas. I have the new jellyfish pattern. There's some of the monarch ones. I got a couple horses and some of the pine cone fabric. So these are going to be up in the shop. Hopefully by the time you see this video, I'll have a link down below. I always have the coupon for my viewers, which is 10% off. So make sure you use that. And then a lot of these patterns I also have in the book sleeve. So I still have some of the monarch. That one's selling really well. This is a dragonfly. The jellyfish that I shared. And then here is the pretty pine cone. This one does have sparkles. The glitter doesn't come off too bad, but it does a little bit. But it is pretty secure glitter, so it won't get all over everything. Here's a cute kind of like fall, wintry like pattern. And there's a few other ones on there, so check those out. I just have to plug the Etsy shop. If you want to get these in for gifts, make sure you order, I think by December, like 12th or the 15th will be kind of the cutoff to get it by then, so definitely check that out. But anyway, as you can tell by the title of this video, this one is going to be another last 10 video. I did that with historicals, and number one, thank you guys for loving on the historicals. You know, I've been wanting to read more of those and time has just not allowed for it, and so I still wanted to share the love of historicals with you guys, so we did that. And to get to the last 10 historicals that were all by different authors and weren't rereads, I had to go back quite a ways. I really did. For dark romance, I didn't have to go back quite as far because I do read a lot more dark romance. But in the same way, I didn't want to be repeating authors, so I did have to go back just a little ways for that. So that's cool though. Hold on, I need to pause. There's one of the books that I forgot, and it's pretty, so I want to show it off. So in the same way that I did with the historicals, I just went back from what I read most recently, and we'll go back to in order of like what I read. Now this one is more than 10, I'll just tell you that, because there's a couple books that I really did want to touch on. So I have those in here, as well as I even broke my own rule where I said I wanted the books to all be from different authors. But one of the authors that I want to talk about in a minute, like I have binged a bunch of her backlist and I want to hype her up to everybody, because you know, when I find a relatively newish author who has books that I'm just addicted to, I want you guys to like them too. And then we also have a few tried and true favorites that had new books out in the last couple months as well. So enough of the intro for this, because I'm sure I'll have enough to say about these. I'll try not to go into too much detail, because a lot of these I have like full reviews of them on the weekly wrap-up, so I will put that playlist up here. But there are a few that I haven't talked about in any videos yet because we missed the last one, so I'll go into a bit more detail about those. But the last dark romance that I just finished just came out today, the day that I'm filming this, and it's also a reason I wanted to film this video. So I read Caution to the Wind by Gianna Darling. Guys, it's here, finally, after long last, over a year, because I still had the email saved that it was in April of 2022 that this book got pushed because Gianna lost her socials. Now, we've had lots of up and downs with that in the past year and a half, and it was very frustrating. And then, you know, it was just really annoying for some of us, and we felt that we were being held back and everything. However, I feel like, and I've always said, authors don't owe us books. Yes, when they have promised one that's coming and then it doesn't, it feels like a letdown. But at the end of the day, an author doesn't owe us their words. And I'm just happy that she wasn't like giving up from this frustration, right? She loves her stories and everything too much to do that. So without like spoiling previous things, it is suggested that if you don't remember the events of Dead Man Walking, maybe reread this. I didn't do it because I was nervous about how I was going to feel about this book, and I didn't think that revisiting Dead Man Walking would necessarily set me up for success because there are things about that book that, though I loved it at the time, I did a reread of that not too long ago and I didn't like it as much, so I didn't reread it. But there are some events that happen in that book that are like directly getting addressed in Caution to the Wind. But this one is an age gap, best friend's stepdad, 16-year age gap, friends to enemies to lovers. There's a couple time jumps that happen in this one. You know, I don't want to spoil all that because it like literally is just out. But I honestly deeply enjoyed this book. I started reading it during Thanksgiving week and I kept being drawn into it. You know, through my holidays, I was pushing away at this book. It is a really long one, as Gianna is wont to do lately. Her books have gotten thicker and thicker. But there was so much nuance in this relationship, and, you know, in the way that a few of the romances in this series have felt a bit too big of an age gap. Like, I'm just going to say it. I love it. I love it. But I have a line for like how long is too long for me in age gaps. And some of hers have been too much for me. And some of the biker babe talk is a bit over the top. But honestly, a lot of that stuff has been held back a bit in this book. And Henning and May, the relationship that they have and the struggles that they go through make them both feel like equals to me, and that age gap gets smaller and smaller as time goes on. And May, by the time these two are getting together, May feels very mature to me. And I mean, she should, because she isn't 17 when they're having their romance. Like I said, there are some time jumps in this one. So it made it feel like they were both on equal footing. And May is a badass. There was a lot looked into her culture in this one. I know that Lacey and a few other ladies did sensitivity readings for this. But as with all of Gianna's books, there is a lot of loss and like pain in this, but she makes it really beautiful. And this one didn't feel as over the top poetic as like Dead Man Walking did. See, that was the thing for me with Dead Man Walking, is when I reread it, I found myself rolling my eyes sometimes at how like flowery some of this stuff was about the serial killer and how turned on the heroine was just because he was bad. That was something about Bia. Like, she just liked a bad boy for the sake of a bad boy. And it was tough to reread that of like this 18-year-old who just got super horny for watching him be a serial killer, you know what I mean? Or not a serial killer, but like a psychopath. With Henning, I just felt so much for, that's Axeman, by the way. I just felt so much for him and the burden that he's under. And yeah, I understood why he saw her as an enemy eventually, even though a lot of it was just him being unwilling to, like, I understood why he didn't want to listen to her and why he felt betrayed, but I also appreciated how, like, eventually, like, she's willing to let herself be the one that he hates so that he has a place to focus his pain. So I've talked enough about it already, but it is the last dark romance I read, and I am highly recommending it. I'm highly recommending it. I had a great time reading this book, and like I said, it was really hard to put down. So highly recommend. All right, now we're going to be talking about Mila Kane, who's an author that I talked about, I think, just one of her books in the last one. Let me check where I'm at. Okay, no, I did talk about most of her books in the last one. Okay. I couldn't remember if I did or not. So in my last weekly wrap up, I did talk about her books because they all kind of connect. Both her like bully hockey romance and her mafia romances like connect because they have stuff that interweaves with them. I still haven't read her first duet. I'm planning to. I have it downloaded. I actually found out when I was reading through her list that I own the first book in one of the duets because it was free on one of the Stuff Your Kindle days. But I literally read her books like backwards, which I've done before with authors too, because the newest one that came out was the Unholy Vows, which was the first one that I read. It said it was a part of a duet, and I'm still waiting to see like how, because two of the other series like are duets about the same couple, so you know they have that cliffhanger. This one, their love story felt very wrapped up, and we like had an epilogue. So I'm wondering if it will be about another, like if it'll be a duet, but it's about another couple. I don't know. But that their romance seemed pretty wrapped up in Unholy Vows. That one was a forced marriage. A woman's like sister and her see what they aren't supposed to see. And so first he just like threatens them and he's like, we're going to be watching you. Don't go to the police and you'll be okay. And her sister just can't get over it. And so I do think maybe her sister will be in the second duet or the second part of the duet. That could be it. But anyway, Renato is the guy's name. And he ends up forcing the older sister, who's a nurse, to be his wife. And he just becomes obsessed with her. And so it's a really good one because she just hates him, but he just thinks she's so feisty and brave. But, you know, he knows she wouldn't go to the police, but he makes them family so that her sister can't, like, fuck it up, basically. It's that kind of fun, right? So I really liked Unholy Vows. But then that led me, I decided to read Bad Intentions, which was a bully romance. Only the first one in this series is out so far. There's going to be more of this one. And this one is about a hockey romance, a hockey player, and then the daughter of the hockey coach. And he is from a really bad situation. So he actually ends up like living with her and her parents don't know that he's her bully. And she knows a few things about him and where he's from, and he wants something to hold over her. So he actually steals her diary, in which she has written her darkest fantasies, which include him seeing her. So consensually non-consent stuff with her. So he's like, I know all your dirtiest secrets, and if you fuck with me, I'll tell them. And see, she was never planning to tell secrets anyway, but there we go. So I enjoyed that one. I did. I gave that one 4 stars. And then I read the Maid of Mayhem duet, which is about, it turns out, the younger sister of Renato. And so this happens before Renato became the boss and deals with his father and cousin and uncle who were like fucked up. And his sister is going to be forced into a marriage she doesn't want. And then I think it's Nikolai is his name. He's this crazy wild card who's from the Russian mafia family. And they end up having this like Romeo and Juliet scenario that lasts a few years too. This one also has a secret baby involved that like I didn't think I would like. But the hero, as soon as he found out what was really going on, the way that he reacted I was won over. I'm that type of girl, okay? I was won over once I found out what was going on. So, yeah, it wasn't really a big deal for me anymore once I found out. So, yeah, those were all the ones I've read by Mila Kane so far, and I've enjoyed them all. So, if you're someone who wants to binge an author, definitely check her out. They are definitely the over-the-top type of heroes. The bully romance, I think, was the one that actually felt like the darkest and the hardest. The other ones, even though they were mafia, they were over the top heroes, so it didn't like bug me as much. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Also, one I forgot to talk about, because I think I actually finished it while I was making this list. I read King by S.J. Tilley. I'm continuing her Alliance series. I love it. It takes place in Minnesota, which is in Chicago partly. I'm from Minnesota, the heart of Minnesota. So this one has like Minneapolis Mafia. And in the first book, Nero, which I read a couple months ago, they actually fly to Fargo to like kill someone, and it just made me insanely happy. So these books are really kind of having their moment right now. I think like Dom just came out. I've been listening to the audio, so like I want to read Dom because he's like I see him in King, and also Hans, that one is coming in December, but I really like the audio, so I think I'm probably gonna wait. But the Dom audio isn't coming until like February, so I don't know. But I have enough books to keep me busy in December, so maybe I should just chill. But I like them. Again, these ones are over the top. I gave both of these like 3.5 stars, I think. Let me see. What did I give King? No, I gave King a 4-star. They're so over the top. They're cheesy. But I love that stuff sometimes, especially in Mafia. Because Mafia, for me, either Mafia is like so dark and it hits like that, or it's more camp. And these definitely go more to the camp side. This one also involves a woman seeing what she shouldn't see. That happens in a lot of Mafia, right? Involves seeing something she shouldn't see, and then he ends up forcing her to marry him. So it was another forced marriage. I need to make another forced marriage video, which usually ends up being Mafia and historicals, as I've said before. That's usually when forced marriage is happening. So yeah, I like that. Okay, moving along. We have another Mafia series because I've been in a Mafia mood again and I love it. I was out of it for a little while. After we did a Mafia readathon, I got a little bit burned out, but there is mostly all Mafia in this, just so you know. Then I read, or going backwards, I read the Fallen series by Gabrielle Sands. I won't go as far into these. I know I've been saying about each one and then I'm going far into them, but I won't go too far into these ones because in one of my weekly wrap-ups, I gushed about this series for like 30 minutes. The first 3 books of the Fallen series are out. They're interconnected standalones. However, I do suggest reading these ones in order because there's kind of this coup that they are trying to pull off through this series. And I think it reads well if you're reading it in order because the stakes are kind of getting raised in each one. And the 4th book of this series is coming out in December too. I tried to get on the ARC team for this author, but she says she doesn't have any openings. So I'm like, but you're such a small author. Let me in. Let me in, Gabrielle. Let me in. But anyway, the first one is on When She Unravels. And this one is a woman's been forced into a marriage. Her father gives her to his enforcer, and this guy is a psychopath. He forces her to help him torture and kill people that are supposed to be punished by the mafia, but that's what's happening, y'all, and it's intense. And then one day he brings a girl in that she's supposed to help him kill, and she's like, we're done. And so she shoots him, and they run away. And they end up running away to Europe, or is it in Europe? Yeah, in Europe, and she gets a job as like a maid there because she steals some money from her husband. She ends up getting robbed when she gets there, which sadness, right? Sadness. So yeah, that was really cool though. And yeah, that one, then it's When She Tempts, I think is the next one. And this one is the younger sister of the hero from the second one. She is a target to get back at him, and so one of his allies takes her to his secluded home. So it's a forced proximity, kind of a bodyguard romance. And she wants to fuck him for sure. And then there's When She Oh, what is it, Jen? I'm putting up a picture, but I have to know it. Checking in my little book. When it was this month. I read all of these this month. When She Falls. Haha. And this one is the sister of the heroine from the first one. And she is supposed to be getting married to someone else, but her family just treats her horribly, and she ends up falling for the second in command of the first hero's mafia. So all of those interconnected things. And then the fourth book, which is going to be coming out, is about the final sister, who she takes her sister's place and who she's supposed to marry. And it looks like, based on the teases, that she's going to try to ruin his life. We'll see if that happens. We'll see. Moving along. We then just had more of a dark contemporary. This was an romance by Riley Hart, which I haven't read a ton by her. This is called Risk the Fall, and this is an ex-con who's just getting out of prison. He did time for manslaughter that he didn't do. He did see it happen, but he didn't participate, and he was forced to take the fall for a friend of his. Now he's out of prison and he needs to get a job, and he's not planning to tell anyone what happened because his grandma is in that town and he wants his grandma to be safe. And he becomes a worker for a construction that is run by the younger brother of his ex-best friend. So yeah, and it's also a bi-awakening for the one hero. So the reason this one is dark is that the guys who really did the killing, they don't trust that he's going to keep his mouth shut. And so they keep kind of pushing at him and poking at him and seeing if he's going to keep his mouth shut. And we'll see how that goes. Then I read Dark Rapture. I think I read this one in October. This is the second book by Kay Allister. So this one is a dark, witchy paranormal book, and this one is about can't remember the heroine's name here because it's a first person story, but basically our heroine, she had been molested by an uncle, and she has gotten into witchcraft and the occult because she's looking for spells for protection, and she ends up getting in a little deeper than she should, and she ends up calling a prince of hell, I believe it's a prince of hell, to protect her, and he wants her to give him his soul, and then she'll never have to worry about it again. So that's all I'll say. It's not super long. Kay is a supporter of this channel and a small author. She also went through some really tough personal times right now, so if this interests you at all, please go check it out. I think it is on KU. It might not be. It might be for $3.99 or $2.99, but definitely go check out this story. It was very unique, and I know we're past spooky time, but you can read spooky books all year, right? You can read spooky books all year. All right, then there was Mafia Captive by Kitty Thomas. My friend Megan, hi Megan, she so kindly sent me a signed copy of this. She loves Kitty Thomas and she wants me to read some more. Now, Kitty Thomas, if you don't know, is considered to be kind of the OG dark romance author, and one of her books, Comfort Food, which I do have, I'm just nervous to read it because it's being the beginning of dark romance. You know, what we consider dark romance now, not like the dark romance that was in historicals back in the day, because we all know those have dark romance elements, we know, is because this doesn't have a traditional HA. And I don't mean that in one of them dies or they're not together at the end. I mean, they're together at the end, but it doesn't feel quite right. It definitely, I think, feels more realistic in a way. It doesn't have much of the romance in it because the heroine just really has to fold in and give or die kind of thing. So yeah, this one again is a woman who sees something she shouldn't see. And in this case, she gets taken by the mafia guy, and he's actually gay. So he decides to give her to his brother. He knows that his brother is into kinky stuff because his brother has shared it with him before. And he's like, but his brother is too afraid to get involved in it too deeply. And his brother's like, hey, I don't want to have to kill this woman, but I will if I need to. So I'm going to give her to you. And since she can't leave or run away, you can do whatever you want to her. Now his brother, Leo, is rightly kind of horrified because he's not a shitty person. He's a doctor. I mean, he's not a pristine person because he's part of the mafia. Transjectually or whatever. And things get a little bit awkward because he's like, I don't actually want to force her, but she also can't ever leave. And then they end up having to fake date over Christmas because his brother can't keep his mouth shut. And his family has accepted that he's gay. Like, they're not going to kill him for being gay, which could happen in the mafia. I know, dark. But it happens in mafia books. Check out the whole plot of, like, the Kings of Italy. Like, that's a thing. But he also, like, his family wants him to get over his gayness and, like, give them a baby. And so he's like, hey, no, my brother Leo, he has a fiance. And so he puts them in a really awkward position. So how that plays out with our heroine, like, she absolutely is terrified of pain. So even to try BDSM, like, she's not turned on by it at all. And so it puts them in a tough position. So this one is fascinating if you enjoy power dynamics, if you enjoy twistier things. And again, it does have an HEA. It's just not, like, one we would normally expect. But yet I'm not saying it's non-traditional. They are together at the end. It's just, I don't know how I feel about them being together at the end, if that makes sense. And some people really like those ambiguous type stories, so I think you could like it. All right, then there was, oh, that's funny. There was Cruel Lies by Lillian Harris. This is book 2 in her, oh, I do not remember the series name, but I listened to an audio arc of that one. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, this one is another one where they're having to hide out together, and it is a dead sister's husband romance, but the dead sister was having an affair on him, and she really wanted to be with him, and now her sister's dead, but they still can't ever be together because he's so much older than her, and he feels like a pervert whenever he thinks about her, but they need safety, and so he's the one looking out for her, and she is constantly trying to tempt him into giving in. So lots of sexual tension there. Oop, and then another one I forgot to share is Contempt by Sam Mariano. This is book 3 in the Coastal Elites. This is Landon and Parker, and they have quite the romance, y'all. Quite the dark, bully, twisty, almost kind of a stepbrother. He will be her stepbrother eventually, but he actually liked her first. Before his dad liked her mom, he liked her first. But he was kind of toying with her like a spider and a fly. And he wasn't necessarily going about everything the right way. You know, it's that, like, I like you, so I'm picking on you. Well, he was taking that a bit too far, to say it lightly. He was taking that further than it should have gone, right? And so, but now they're living in the same house. But her mom has said, if he's inappropriate with you, we'll leave. And she doesn't want her mom to have to give up what she has, because she likes Landon's dad, actually. He's pretty great. But Landon is now, he has her in his clutches, and he's like, you're not going to tell your mom that I'm fucking with you and trying to fuck you because you don't want to ruin what they have. So he feels like he has all this leverage over her and can just play with her however he wants. I gave this book 6 stars because of how the dynamic between them and the mind games that come clear, and then also how the third act played out. What seems like is going to be a conflict, it still is a conflict, but what seems like is going to be a breakup, it goes completely different. And I loved the pivot. Okay, I was here for the pivot. Then there was Silent Lies by Neva Altaj. This was book 8 in the Perfectly Imperfect series. This is a wonderful series to binge away. Okay, it is. I think the first 4 audiobooks are out. The next one won't be out until next year, but the 8 of the books are available. They're all on KU now. Silent Lies just went to KU. All of her books go wide before they go to KU. So it's now on KU. And this one is another arranged marriage, and it's another mafia romance, like it all is, you know. And this one is, the heroine feels like she owes her mafia boss because she has caused people a lot of pain. Not really. It wasn't her fault that she did, but she feels like she owes something. And so she agrees to do this arranged marriage. She agrees to spy on her new husband. But she ends up really liking her new husband and his entire like family group, his compound. He also has high frequency hearing loss, so he can't hear well, and he doesn't tell her that in the beginning. He doesn't tell her his weaknesses. So these two were a lot of fun. The games they played with each other and the way it went about, like, it was a lot of fun. I liked this couple quite a bit. All right, another mafia. There was Brutalize Me by Michelle Hurd. This one is book 3 in this series, and this one we have a very timid heroine. She's very shy. Her and her brother lost their parents when they were young, and they got adopted by another mafia family. Their parents, I think, were a part of it, and then they ended up in the like orphanage, and it was very like dangerous foster homes for them. And her older brother always kept her safe. Then they were adopted, and now her brother is getting married, and her adopted father is trying to marry her off for a strategic marriage. Now, her brother, who is technically her only family, he's already made arrangements for her, and they're very nice arrangements. He has paired her with his best friend, and this is a good match. And I really liked it about this is that her brother really thought carefully about who he wanted to look out for his sister. And he took that responsibility seriously. He isn't just passing her off to whoever. He picked someone he knew would honor her, would be faithful to her, and who would give her what she wants, which she wants to be a mother and a wife. And he knows that his friend wants all that. But when he's away on his honeymoon, she's being given away to someone else, and her family's like, don't tell your brother, don't mess things up for him, you're gonna do what I say. And so she's being just ordered around, and she's desperate, and so she ends up calling the hero, which she doesn't know that she's supposed to be given to this man. She doesn't know that. Her brother is planning to tell her and ask her what she wants, because he isn't going to force her to marry his friend. That's the big difference too. He thinks this will be a good match, but he was going to leave it up to his sister, and he kind of tells his friend, like, you might have to woo her because I'm not going to force her, you know? Oh, he's such a good brother. I love it so much. But she reaches out to him not knowing that he's supposed to be her future husband, right? And he is so pissed about what her stepfather was doing. The only thing is, her brother never did ask permission from the Don yet if she could marry his friend. So things are a little bit sticky for everybody in here. But I really liked this one. I loved how caring he was for her. I don't always have to have the badass woman in a mafia romance, you know? It made sense that she was quieter and more timid because of the history that she had been through. And I loved, as I said, how caring her brother was for her. It was really beautiful to see. All right. Then we had Grimstone by Sophie Lark. I talk about this book for about 30 minutes in the weekly wrap-up where I talked about it. So this is one, as I said, I gave this one 4 stars for like reviewing wise of it, but this is probably my least favorite Sophie Lark. It just didn't jive with me. It was quite the ride, and I think if you just let it take you where it takes you, it could be a really fun time. Of course, it is illustrated to beautiful effect by Lena Erickson, who is the full-time artist and illustrator for the Team Lark. And there's some really beautiful in here. But this one is about Remy Hayes, who her uncle left this mansion to her and her brother. And so she wants to fix it up and flip it, because that's all he left them was this. They don't have any money. And so then there is a next door neighbor named Dane Covett, and he ends up blackmailing her into helping out at his house, but really he just wants to get closer to her so that he can fuck her, basically. And I didn't feel any emotional connection between these two, and though I gave this 4 stars when I first reviewed it, it's actually more of like a 3 or less for me, just because I expect more from Sophie than what this one was. But still a beautiful cover, still beautiful illustrations, and it's not always going to be a winner. And there was lots of fun, spicy things in it. So if you're looking for certain spicy things, they're probably in there. Okay, and then the last one I want to cover. And as you can tell, this was not just the last 10 because it ends up being like 15, but the more the merrier, right? There was Reckless Hearts by J.G. Cole. This was the final book in currently, well, it will be the final book. He's starting a new series in January of the Dark Heart series. So let's see, Reckless Hearts. Actually, I have to think to who this one is about because it's just left my brain and I didn't write it down. This one is, oh yes, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but I know this one, they had went to the same college, and they were kind of falling for each other. It was a secret thing, but then he thinks she was sleeping with someone else, and she wasn't, but he tells her he never wants to see her again. Little does she know, 6 years later, she becomes best friends with his sister, and he had been living somewhere else, and now he's in town for a wedding. And he's like, now I'm going to ruin you. So he ends up buying up a bunch of businesses that belong to her mom. And he says, I will give them back to you in so many months if you are at my beck and call and do whatever I want. So he basically turns her into his little sex slave. But also, he is like winning her over. And we also find out more about how they got into the situation 6 years ago that they did and what was really going on. So this one, for me, I think just had a few too many twisties in it, and it was very, like, strange. But there wasn't, I mean, J.G. Cole writes over-the-top stories as it is. It just felt a little repetitive of book 3 in the series, which I really liked, and this just had a lot of echoes to that one, and I wish it had maybe went a different way, but it was still good. I gave this one 4 stars. And J.G. Cole is still high up on the list for me, for sure. So there we go. Those are the last 10/15 books that I read that were dark romance. Again, most of them being mafia. So there you go. I will have links for all of these books down below. If you use my Amazon links, it does help out the channel a little bit. Whether you get the ebook or you buy a paperback, it does all help us out a little bit. Like I said, definitely check out the new designs in my Etsy. And even if nothing's catching your eye right now, make sure you follow my page there because I do have, like I said, another small update coming. I have some more ideas for some stocking stuffers I'm hoping to get up in the next couple of weeks so you can get them before Christmas. And there is a coupon code down below. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who makes these videos happen, and we'll see you next time. Bye.